Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video, I'm going to talk about all the books that I've planned to read in the first quarter of 2025, that is from Jan to March. And in this TBR video, I'll be talking about the 3 book club picks for January, February and March respectively. A book club pick for January is already announced in my community tab, so I'm not announcing it late, I just want to tell it to you guys. That will be the first book inside this pile, and after that I'll talk about the other 2 book club picks and the rest of the books that I've planned to read in the first quarter. One of the main goals that I have for 2025 is to read as many series as I can. I've been having that as a goal for a few years now, and I was not able to read as many series as I wanted to in 2024. I want to rectify that this year. And another good thing about this TBR for me personally is that the book club picks for the first quarter, that is the first 3 months of the year, are all Indian books. And I'm going to try and choose as many Indian books as possible for the book club so that, we can read a lot more from our own authors in both fiction as well as non-fiction. So without any further ado, let's get into the books right away. As I had said before, we are going to start with the book club pick for Jan now. And the book that I've chosen is a contemporary romance book, which is Tea for Two and a Piece of Cake by Preeti Shenoy. If you've been following me for quite a while, I'm sure you know that I love this author and her books very much. Each and everything that I've read from Preeti Shenoy so far has either been a 4-star or 5-star read for me because her books just vibe with me really well. They are all very Indian, very modern, and also perfect for every kind of reader. Whether you are a seasoned reader or a beginner, you can read any of Preeti Shenoy's books because they are just perfect in that way. Now, in Tea for Two and a Piece of Cake, we follow Nisha, who's in her early 30s right now, and she's been divorced after 8 years in her marriage with a wealthy person. And after her divorce, she's not in a good state in life right now. And during this time, there comes a younger guy into her life with whom she falls in love with. And what are all the things that are going to happen in Nisha's life as well as the life of that guy who falls in love with her is the story of this book. Preeti Shenoy always experiments really good with relationships and displays them very properly to us in her books. I trust her with the character building as well as the fact that the book will be a page turner because I'll want to know what's going to happen next. And it will also be very beginner friendly. That's why I picked it up for the book club pick so that everyone can read it very easily. So for January, we'll be reading Tea for Two and a Piece of Cake by Preeti Shenoy. And since this is also a romance book, for February, if someone asks you for a romance book recommendation, you can definitely go forward and recommend this if you end up liking it. Next, we have an Indian fantasy book, which is not mythological, okay? It's pure fantasy. And this book was also very huge when it got republished by a publisher in India. I did not get that edition of the book, but the earlier one, I think it's the first edition of the book. And it is Luwan of Brida or Incredia by Sarang Mahajan. I give the names of the book in both ways in the description, so you can search it as you want. One is Discover and the other one is the one which I'm popping over here. Both of these are the same book, it's just that it was published in different times by different people. Now in this book, Luwan of Brida or Incredia, we follow our main character Luwan in the small village called Brida, and something sinister is going to happen in the village, and he has some kind of magical power which he has to make use of in order to save the village as well as the world at large. I am very vague with the way in which the book is described because I watched the reviews for this book years back when it was first published in a huge scale in our country, and after that I did not go back to this book at all. And this year I have this goal to read as many Indian fantasy books as I can, whether they are published in India or not. Since this is a book which has kind of a high esteem with booktubers out there, and also I've heard only positive things about this book from everyone who's talked about it, I think it is going to be a promising one too. It's not also a very huge book, so we can all read it pretty fast. So for February, we have an Indian fantasy book which is Incredia or Luwan of Brida. Next, we have a short story collection, and it is The Black Magic Women by Moushumi Kandali. I bought this book in 2023 and the plan was to finish reading this in 2024 itself, but for some reason I was not at all going near the book. It's just a collection of 10 short stories, so it will not take that long to read. And since in March we'll also be having Women's Day, I wanted to select a book which is women-centric. Now, all these 10 short stories deal with women as main characters in them, and the common thread that runs for all these women is that they are from either Assam or one of the northeastern states in our country. We all know that there is not that much of good things that are said by the media when it comes to the northeastern parts of our country, and it's quite abandoned also, just by the amount of cultural diversity that is present there for us. In this book, the author just goes forward and shows us how women in specific from the northeast and more in specific Assam are seen by the society through these short stories that she has written. I think I started reading the first short story alone like months back in the beginning of 2024, and after that I just did not continue with it. Since it's just 10 short stories, I don't think it will take that much time for us to read, and even just one short story per day will be more than enough to finish reading this book in 10 days. And I also just love the cover of this book. My camera is not capturing all the details from it, but it looks very beautiful. So for March, we'll be reading The Black Magic Women by Moushumi Kandali. Now, the rest of the books we'll be seeing in this video are the ones which I plan to read in the first quarter. I don't have any hard and fast rule to read any of these in any order except for the series. Whenever I feel like reading them, I'm just going to pick up and try to finish reading these books in the first quarter itself. So, of these, the first one is a series because I've read the first book of the series alone in 2024, and it is the Poppy War series by R.S. Kuang. I finished the first book, The Poppy War, and I just thoroughly loved that book because it is really well written, and the ending of the book was quite polarizing for me. Even until now, I'm not sure whether I love that ending or I'm totally against it. So I want to go forward and finish the rest of the two books in the trilogy too, which are The Dragon Republic and The Burning God. I have The Burning God here somewhere with me. I'm not able to pull it out because it is just disorganized my bookshelf, so I'll just take it out when I'm reading it. Another thing about the series is that both of these books are like humongous, so I don't think I'll be able to read both of these books in 1 month in just one go, but I'm going to try to because R.F. Kuang is very strong when it comes to her writing. She doesn't do that great character work and all, but the worlds that she builds as well as the writing that she has is super powerful, and I think that is enough to move her books really well. So the first series that I've planned to finish reading in 2025 is The Poppy War by R.S. Kuang. Next, we have another very popular adult fantasy series, and I've not planned to finish the entire series in the first quarter, but read at least the first book alone, and it is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. It just goes really well with my hoodie today. Now, with this book, I have actually started reading it. I think I started reading this while I was injured last year, and I've read exactly 60 pages of book. I think I read it continuously for 1 hour, and after that I did not even go for and pick it for some reason. I don't know why. Now, in this world, the 5th season, some kind of natural disaster or a calamity keeps on happening, and the earth keeps on destroying itself and reforming, because of which the people here are not able to live normal lives. And if I'm not wrong, there are also certain people inside the world who tend to have different kinds of magic which need to be harnessed properly so that it can help them to protect themselves from the calamities that are happening, at the same time to keep the civilization that they've built intact. And another very intimidating thing about the series for me is that all the 3 books inside this are the winners of the Hugo Award for each and every one of their particular years. And I don't think any other series has managed to do that so far. Another interesting thing about the series is that it is narrated in second person's point of view. That was a bit confusing for me to read while I read the first 60 pages of the book back then. Now I don't remember almost anything from it at all, so I'll have to start from page 1. But I'm super interested to read this because I've heard no one say anything bad about the 5th season or the other 2 books inside the series. Let's just wait and see how it is going to go for me. Next is another huge series which I wanted to finish reading in 2024 itself. But again, because of my injury, I just went so much off track and I was not able to continue on with the series, which I enjoyed very much. I finished reading half of the series, okay? 4 of the 8 books from the series I read in 2024 itself, and I was not able to read the rest of the 4 because each and every one of them are huge books. And it's also a super popular series, which is the Throne of Glass series by J Maas. And in the first quarter, I have not planned to finish all the 4 books because I know I will not be able to do that. So I'm going with 2 of the 4 books from the series for the second quarter, which are Queen of Shadows, the 4th book inside the series, and Empire of Storms, which is the 5th book. I actually started reading Queen of Shadows sometime during August or September, but I was just not in the mental space to continue reading it because even though the story was nice, I was not able to pay all the attention that it deserved. And it also has a lot to do with the novella collection, which is the Assassin's Blade. The collection is really good, and the way in which this book linked to that was very visible from the first few chapters itself, and I wanted to keep all that in mind while reading. So I just did not go forward and continue on with this in 2024. The goal is to finish both of these books, 1 book per month in 2025 in the first quarter itself, so that I can go forward and take a little bit more time to read the other 2 books inside the series by the end of the year. And if I'm not wrong, this 5th book, which is Empire of Storms, and the next one, which is Tower of Dawn, are to be tandem read. I don't know whether I'll be able to do that or not, but the goal is to finish at least these 2 by the end of the first quarter. They are quite huge, but I know J Maas's writing is very easy to read through, and she does not complicate things, at least in terms of writing. So yeah, we have these 2 as the next 2 books inside the TBR. Next, we have 1 non-fiction book alone, and I need to finish reading this in the first quarter. I've already started reading it on Jan 1st, and I know that I'll be able to read this faster and also collect a lot of things because I read like 20 odd pages of this book so far, and from that itself, I'm able to understand the depth and heaviness of this book very much. And it is also very expensive, okay? I got this for a deal. That's why I was able to buy it in 2024 because it costs, 1350 rupees in our country, and that is very huge for this tiny book. And the book that I'm talking about is It Didn't Start With You by Wolynn. I have included this book in my latest book haul video, which is the first one for 2025. And this book basically talks about the family trauma that we acquire from our parents as well as different other members of the family because of some reasons. And at times also with no reason at all. How it is affecting us, how we are really unaware of it, and how becoming aware of it and working on it can break that cycle and not let the trauma pass on to the successive generation. I can see that this book is going to be something which can end up being life-changing for me, because I've been working on myself to understand the trauma that has been going on in my life, as well as that of my parents and other family members, so that, at least one of us is aware of the things that are going on in our lives, and, try to make things better for our own family as well as the people who might come out of our family in the future. It's going to be quite a heavy book, but I think it is very much necessary for me to read this. So even if I take the whole 3 months to read this slowly, I don't care. I just want to absorb everything from this book and put it into practice properly. So for that reason, we have It Didn't Start With You by Wolynn. Next, we have a book by an author whose first book which I enjoyed so much, and I read that book 2 years back. Okay, it's been so long since I read that book now. And I actually plan to reread that book and then read the other 2 books by the author. So I don't want to put these 2 books off for any time longer. So the book that I'm talking about is The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. Donna Tartt is the author of The Secret History, which is one of the most popular books on the internet. I'm not going to be able to explain this book without reading it to you guys. So I'm just going to read the synopsis from the back cover, and this is how it goes. 12-year-old Harriet is doing her best to grow up, which is not easy as her mother is permanently on medication. Her father has silently moved to another city, and her serene sister rarely notices anything. All of them are still suffering from the shocking and mysterious death of her brother Robin 12 years earlier, and it seems to Harriet that the family may never recover. So, inspired by Captain Scott, Houdini, and Robert Louis Stevenson, she sets out with her only friend Helly to find Robin's murderer and punish him. But what starts out as a giant scheme soon becomes a dark and dangerous journey into the menacing underworld of a small Mississippi town. So this is going to be a murder mystery novel, which is also going to be dark in its tone. And one thing which I'm confident about this book is that it will have beautiful writing, because I know Donna Tartt's style of writing after reading The Secret History. If this is anything even close to that one, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this. And this cover is also quite, frightening and different. See, it has a hole here. It's also quite huge, but I'm going to try and read it in the first quarter itself. Next, we have a standalone fantasy book, which is a retelling of a very popular play by Shakespeare. And this character is someone whom I'm sure anyone who has read English as part of their curriculum would be aware of. And I also enjoyed the other book by this author, which I read in 2024, which is A Study in Drowning. This book is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. This is basically just a retelling of the Macbeth play by Shakespeare, but with Lady Macbeth as the main character. She is one of the most interesting characters inside this play. If I'm not wrong, she's the most interesting of all the characters inside the play. And this is a retelling with her as the main character. I'll just read the synopsis again from the back of the book so that, we get the tone of the book better, because this author's writing is really, really good. The lady knows the stories, that her eyes induce madness in men. The lady knows she will be wed to the Scottish brute who does not leave his warrior ways behind when he comes to the marriage bed. The lady knows his hostile, suspicious court will be a game of survival, requiring all of her wiles and hidden witchcraft to survive. But the lady does not know her husband has occult secrets of his own. She does not know that prophecy girds him like armor. She does not know that her magic is greater and more dangerous, and that it will threaten the order of the world. She does not know this yet, but she will. That sounds very dark, sinister, and interesting, and I'm all in for this author's writing, because the way in which that book was written, I sincerely believe that this is going to be great. Again, the cover is just so gorgeous. So next we have Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. Next we have a contemporary duology by Preeti Shenoy again, and it is Life is What You Make It and Wake Up Life is Calling, both by the author. Now this book is set in the 80s if I'm not wrong, and our main character Ankita here is one of the people who has everything in check inside her life, okay? And for some reason, because of some things that happened during her college life, after she secures a job, she gets admitted into a mental institution or a hospital because of some reasons, and that just derails her life completely off the path that she wanted to be on. How she makes her way back on life and tries to get all the things that she wants is the plot of this duology, if I'm not wrong. And I can see that the second book is much bigger than the first book, and this is also one of the first books by the author, and it is, if I'm not wrong, the most popular of all the books that Preeti Shenoy has written. Again, as I said, for the first book inside this TBR, I trust Preeti Shenoy's writing 100%. I don't think she can do anything wrong with her characters in writing, and also the setups in which her stories take place are very realistic, okay? You can literally experience the story as you are reading it, because they are that well written by her. I'm also planning to finish 2 other series by Preeti Shenoy, which are the sequel to When Love Came Calling and the sequel to A Place Called Home, both of which I have on my TBR already. But the goal is to finish these two in the first quarter, and I know if I start reading these two, I might even end up finishing both of them in just a single day. Let's wait and see how it is going to go. And at last, we have another book from a series which I've been reading ever since 2021. Okay, so I've been reading the series for 4 years and still I've not finished it because I'm doing review videos for each and every book inside the series in my channel. And I don't think I read even one of these books in 2024, which is the Sherlock Holmes series by Arthur Conan Doyle. If I'm not wrong, I just have this one, The Return of Sherlock Holmes, and the last short story, if I'm not wrong, which is his last O, yet to be read inside the series, and I've not got into it for some reason. I don't have that one as alone as a physical copy, but I do have this. The plan is to finish the Sherlock Holmes series in 2025 so that, I have a complete collection of videos for you guys to come and watch if you want to know anything about Sherlock Holmes at all. So I have nothing much to say about the Sherlock Holmes series because I just want to finish it in 2025. That's why I'm trying to add this as the final book to be read in my first quarter. So yes guys, those are all the books which I plan to read in the first quarter of 2025, and I will publish my second quarter TBR much sooner than this, sometime in the last week of March itself, so that anyone who wants to read or do the buddy reads with me for the second quarter can start it much earlier. Do let me know down in the comments if you'll be reading any of these books in the first quarter or in 2025. And if you'll be joining me with the book club picks this year or not. And if you did enjoy watching today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.